A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Jerry of the Circus. For Jerry of the Circus.
So, it takes a Russian to appreciate what the Russovs can do.
So, Boris, you get another fan letter, yes?
Yes, but Olga, this is much more than just a fan letter. Here we have a fine Russian lady who understands the true greatness of the Cossacks.
A Russian lady in this country?
Like us, she is in exile. And so when she sees the magnificent writing which we do...
She writes you a love letter, yes?
No, that is not like that at all. This note is dignified, worthy of a great lady who writes to a great artist.
Oh, so it is like that. Oh, this lady must be clever to write so fascinating a note. What does she say, Boris?
I will read it to you. At the top she says, "My dream rider."
It is as I said. The lady is romantic.
Yes, perhaps. But she is also dignified. And wait, you listen. The Countess Rita Rimsakov...
Not one of the wealthy families of Rimsakov.
Don't interrupt, Olga. Of course, it must be the famous old family. We know they are all in exile.
Yes, and we know, too, that they brought a fortune out of the old country. Go on, Boris.
This is the most important part. Tonight I am giving a grand costume ball at my estate.
Estate? Aha, that sounds as if she is very wealthy.
Olga?
I am sorry, Boris. I will be quiet.
If you will honor me by coming in costume, I will send my chauffeur with the town car for you.
Huh? You see, she is rich.
Be at the entrance at the circus grounds at 11:30. The motive of the costumes for the ball is childhood, so dress accordingly.
That is quite simple. She is asking her guests to dress like children. It is quite the custom in this country, America. Probably the Countess is trying to please her American friends.
So, that must be it. She finishes like this. A young Russian countess in exile salutes you and eagerly awaits the opportunity to show her appreciation in person for your exquisite performance.
That is all?
Is that not enough? She sounds like a very discerning lady. You see, she appreciates the beauty of my writing.
And probably the beauty of your profile.
I cannot help it if all the lovely ladies are attracted with my appearance. It is a cross I must always bear.
Ah, you do not fool me, Boris. You love it. And you work hard to keep yourself looking well. But it is good you do not show your age. You will still be handsome for many years.
It is so. But now the question is, what shall I do about this charming countess?
I suppose you mean by that, what will I do about fixing a costume for you by tonight?
Good. I knew I could depend on you, Olga.
I have not yet said I would do this.
No, but you will, for my pleasure, and for the good of the family.
How do you mean the good of the family?
You do not see? And I thought you so wise for a woman. If this Russian lady is so wealthy, with an estate, a town car, elaborate parties...
Yes, but what has that to do with us?
Olga, I am not yet married.
Ah, of course. You mean if there is enough money, it might be worth... Yes, of course, the Russovs need more money, and always more money. All right, Boris. I will fix you so great a costume that you will put to shame all the Americans who attend this party.
Good. You will not be sorry, Olga. As head of our family, I will see that you will be rewarded. It is true that you and I seem to realize more than the others the importance of having our own circus.
We must take advantage of anything that looks like an opportunity to further the interests of the Russo family.
Now, about this party tonight. What shall I wear?
You must be very grand. Perhaps I should make you some velvet knickerbockers, like the great people wore at court.
Yes, that is good. I will look well in short velvet knickers. But perhaps those silver buckles of yours at the knees.
I will gladly lend them to you for so good a cause.
And a silk shirt with a gay-colored sash at the waist.
Ah, you will make a very fine Romeo.
And I will ask that youngster, Jerry, to lend me his plumed hat which he wears in the ring with El Mundo.
Boris, you are a genius. Indeed, you will make such a fine Romeo, the great lady will fall head over heels in love with you.
Of that I am sure.
I must see Clara at once at the wardrobe. I may need some assistance.
Of course, for you only have a few hours in which to make this costume.
Don't forget to ask Jerry for that hat of his. It will be very dashing with the costume.
Yes, and it will give me a chance to make a very costly bow before the lady when we meet. I am afraid, Olga, we will have this wealthy countess eating out of our hands before the night is out.
Hey, Slat.
Oh, there you are, Jerry. I was wondering what had happened to you.
Are you sure Boris got the letter?
Not so loud.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We must be sure no one knows of this but ourselves. If Boris talks, that is fine.
He's talking all right. You should have heard him boasting at dinner about this fine lady who has invited him to her mansion and how rich she is.
Was Mr. Randall there?
I'll say. And Bumps and everybody. Boris has been making a big fuss over the whole thing. And everybody seemed to fall for it, too.
I bet he won't come to meals for a week when he finds it's a gag.
I'd feel sorry for him if he hadn't been so mean to Whitey.
Don't you worry about him. He needs to be taken down. He's one of the vainest men I've ever met in this business. Speaking of angels, here comes our hero right now.
Where? Oh, yeah, he's heading for us. You don't think he's guessed already?
Of course not. Well, hello there, Boris. You look particularly well tonight.
Yes, I feel unusually fit. And it is well, as I am having a very important engagement this evening.
Is that so? You're going to do another act, huh?
Well, in a way you are right. In a way you are wrong.
That sounds pretty mysterious,
Oh,
Boris.
but I will no longer be mysterious. I have been invited this very evening by a very famous lady. And a very rich and exceedingly beautiful lady to be a guest of honor at the Grand Costume Ball.
Jiminy. Say, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a great responsibility, for she is a great Russian lady who has heard of the greatness of the Russo family.
Really? My. That's certainly unusual.
But?
I mean, of course, she would have heard of you.
That is better. And now, Jerry, I have a little favor to ask of you.
Sure. What can I do for you?
I wonder, would you be kind to lend me the gay hat you wear in the act with El Mundo?
Sure, of course. I'd be glad to lend it to you. You think Mr. Randall would mind? After all, it belongs to the circus.
I already tell him about tonight. He told me to go ahead. Clara is helping Olga with my costume.
My, you will be grand, won't you?
I will probably steal the show, but that is as it should be.
I finished my act. You want it now?
No, I must go now. But if you will bring it to my tent after my act, I will be glad.
Okay. Hope you have a nice time.
Don't worry. There, I must go now.
Well, he sure fell for it. Took line and sinker, didn't he?
I feel kind of mean.
Well, don't. If he can't take a joke, it's his own fault.
I know if someone played such a crazy joke on me, I'd laugh with them when I found it out. But I'm afraid Boris won't take it like that.
My, oh my, look at that man. Boris rides that Arabian horse of his as if he were part of it.
He's sure playing at the grandstand tonight.
What a shame the beautiful countess is only a myth.
Boy, Boris is outdoing himself tonight, all right.
Yes.
The way he takes those bows, you'd think he was the whole show.
He thinks he is, but his brothers are just as good.
Well, I guess I'd better make a change.
Oh, I've still a turn to do. Don't forget to take Boris your hat.
Oh, I won't.
It ought to add to the picture as he stands on the curbstone and waits.
I'll meet you out in front before 11:30. We don't want to miss any of the fun.
From the way he's acted, he'll be on time, so come early.
Oh, I will. So long, Slat.
Bye. Glad to meet you, Mr. Randall. It's a mighty fine show you got. Yes, sir.
Yes, well, if you've enjoyed it, we're all satisfied.
Indeed I have, Mr. Randall. I tell you, every time your circus comes to town, I get out the old car and bring the whole darn family. Yes, sir. We wouldn't know the summertime if we didn't see your show.
Well, that's nice.
Yes, sir. I was telling Liza only this morning. Liza, I said, I guess about time we canned them beans. It's midsummer, and last year we canned them beans a week after the circus comes to town.
Oh, yeah. Well, the circus is almost a calendar for you, isn't
Yes,
it?
sir, that's right, Mr. Randall.
Well.
I tell you, if your circus had skipped our town this year, Liza and me'd probably clean forgot about them beans.
Excuse me, please. I must see that boy about something.
Oh, sure thing. Business before pleasure, I always say.
Jerry.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Randall.
Yes, I wanted to see you about... excuse us. I'll see you next summer.
Yeah, that's right. Bean cannon time.
Yeah.
Did you want something, Mr. Randall?
Not so loud, Jerry. Certainly did. I wanted to get away from that man back there. He was talking an arm off me.
Yeah. Some folks sure can get all wound up.
Yeah. Well, where are you heading, Jerry?
Well,
Oh, well, now, if it's a secret, I don't want to butt in.
Oh, no, of course it's not. I was supposed to meet Slats out here.
Oh, I see. Well, it's still pretty crowded out here in the Midway. Some of these towners like to hang around till the last minute. And the nights the tents come down, sometimes we have to call in the police to clear the way.
Oh, I don't blame them for liking to watch those big tops come down.
Yeah. Say, what's all the excitement?
Where?
Over there in the corner.
Oh.
Look at that crowd.
Something must have happened.
Well, I don't think so. The crowd just seems to be laughing.
Hey! Oh, why, it's Boris, Mr. Randall.
Boris? Well, what on earth is he doing out here in that getup?
He does look kind of funny in it, doesn't he?
Oh, yes, I remember now. He told me something about being invited to a costume ball. He was pretty excited about the whole thing.
Yeah, I loaned him my hat. Recognize it?
Yeah, well, say, I'm not very keen on his making a spectacle of himself out here. I guess I'd better talk to him.
Oh, there you are, Jerry. I thought you'd never get here. What's happened?
Say, Slats, Mr. Randall's kind of upset because Boris is causing such a commotion out here in front of the circus.
Yeah, I say he is. You should have heard a couple of the boys guarding him back there.
Has he been waiting long?
Got a while. He's hot under the collar about all the kids he's getting.
Hey, look, Boris is all excited talking to Mr. Randall.
Look at the crowd gathered around.
Oh, there's a policeman. Say, you don't think there's going to be any trouble?
Not with Mr. Randall there, but it's lucky he came. Boris was likely to say something mean to that crowd.
I sort of wish we hadn't gotten into all this.
Don't worry. He's waited long enough already. Anyhow, the crowd is kind of losing interest now.
Yeah. It was only good for a laugh when they could get Boris's goat.
Uh-huh. Here comes Mr. Randall now. Evening, Mr. Randall.
Oh, hello, Slats. Well, certainly have got to see that a thing like this doesn't happen again.
How do you mean?
One of the performers coming out here in costume, with the audience not yet gone. Why, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Well, good night, folks. I've got some things to do.
Night.
Night? Gee, Slats, I sure hope we don't get into trouble on account of this.
Uh-huh.
Countdown for blast off. X minus 5, 4, 3, 2, X minus 1, fire. the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in 1,000,000 could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight's story, Courtesy.
This is the story of the second expedition to the planet of Landro. I'm recording it for any future expeditions which might land on this God-forsaken sphere, in the hope that they may learn from our tragic example. As I write, there are 2 of us left. 2 out of an original complement of 180 men. One of us, myself, will be dead in less than 23 minutes. As for the other, heaven have mercy on him, I do not know. On June 3rd, 1997, less than 2 months ago, the last of our supply ships blasted off from Lando for their return to Earth. After it had gone, I remember looking out across the plain at the dead city, one of thousands that dotted this planet. It had tall, graceful buildings, atomic power systems, vacuum conveyors, all perfect, all deserted, all ominous. How had it happened? The best guess was that the plague had frightened the original inhabitants of the planet so that they'd piled into rocket ships and headed for some distant planet. I often wondered why a civilization so advanced as Landro could not find a serum to beat the plague. It had taken our Earth doctors less than 6 months to develop an immunization method. Well, maybe those aborigines back in the hills knew the answer. That strange, ugly little people who had taken to the caves the day we landed. I was thinking these things when something happened that gave me the shock of my life.
Good evening, Captain.
Oh, what brings you here, Doctor?
It's the matter of the serum, sir.
Oh, what about the serum?
It's no good.
No good?
It's too old. 10 years too old.
Didn't you examine it?
Yes, I did, but, well, my eyesight has been failing lately.
Are you aware, Doctor, that the last supply ship has returned to Earth? Do you know we'll have no more contact for 2 years? How long do you give us?
Well, the present immunity will last a week or so. Then, without booster shots, it's just a question of time until someone picks up the plague. After that...
What about the natives? They don't die from the plague?
The accepted theory is that they have developed an immunity.
Well, suppose they haven't developed an immunity, Doctor. Suppose they get the disease.
Then they must have a treatment for it. If they don't, there would be no natives.
Would you be willing to go on an expedition to the hills to find out?
At this point, Captain, I'd be willing to do anything. Absolutely anything. I am truly sorry.
You're sorry? Dr. Morgan, sometime when you aren't too busy, when you have a moment, I'd hate to inconvenience you. Would you mind telling me how it feels to murder 180 men? 181, including yourself. I did a lot of thinking after Dr. Morgan left my hut. It was still unreal for me. After all, the planning of an expedition was no simple thing. You put into it the result of years of training and experience, years of study at the academy, years of learning how to handle men and natives. Every man on my crew was hand-picked for his skill. And yet, a simple thing like a myopic surgeon misreading a label could blast the whole thing. Yes, it was a shame. And I did the only thing I could think of. I yelled for Bat Ears Brady. Brady! Get your carcass in here. Take the lead out.
Okay.
Well, what's up? Sit down, Bat Ears.
You got trouble, kid?
We got trouble.
What?
The serum's no good.
What?
Morgan forgot to check it. It's 10 years too old.
Holy jumping snails. You're going to court-martial
That wouldn't do much good. We'll all be dead pretty soon unless somebody figures something out.
Well, what are you going to do, Kev?
Well, there's only one chance. One chance in 10 million.
What?
The natives.
Them cave rats. What good can they do us?
Well, they don't get the plague, so maybe they know a cure.
Okay. Let's get a few of them and beat it out of them.
That's why you're here.
Shoot.
How'd you like to come along on a little expedition up to the cave country? You, me, the doctor, and Faulkner.
Faulkner? Now, listen, Cap, he's worse than the doctor.
Yes, but he knows more about the native culture than anybody here. He's the only one who's completely familiar with the records of the first expedition.
Okay, so it's me, you, the doc, and Faulkner. When do we start?
Tonight, in half an hour. We should reach the cave country by tomorrow. With luck, we'll be able to find natives before night. Benny Faulkner was the expedition anthropologist. One of the most unfortunate-looking individuals I've ever met. An ugly man with large ears and a big nose. His body was small and consumptive, but he had a good brain. And he was the best anthropologist the Interplanet Institute could recommend. He and Dr. Morgan were the only two civilians on the expedition. We set out, and after several hours hard walking...
Cap.
Now, what is it?
Don't look now, but very slowly turn your eyes to the right and look behind that big yellow rock.
Okay.
You see anything?
No?
Well, keep looking. Don't stop walking right on.
Okay.
There.
Yes, it looked like a shadow or something.
It's one of them gimpos. He's been following us now for almost an hour, dodging in and out behind the rocks. Shall I bring him in?
No, not yet. Just pretend you don't see him. Tell the others, if they notice, to show no fear. There's nothing will start these simple-minded cavemen like fear. The manual said, under no circumstances shall a member of the patrol display fear before a native. The dignity of the Earthman must be preserved at all costs. Just before dawn, we reached the cave country. We were tired and hungry, and we stopped to cook some food and rest. Everything was quiet. There was no sign of the gimpo which had been trailing us until...
Okay, get in there, you sneaking little monkey man. Come on, before I break this shovel on your stern.
Yeah, what's the trouble?
Cap, I caught me one of these gimpos sneaking around outside the tent.
Bring him in the light of the fire. We can get a look at him. Faulkner?
Yes, sir?
Keep an eye on him. Try to establish some communication.
All right, get in there.
Look out. No need to knock him down, Bat is.
Oh, that's the only language they understand.
See if you can reach him, Faulkner.
Okay, Captain. I'll need a drum of some sort.
A what?
Well, they have no language as we know it, and they have a very rudimentary sense of hearing. I find they communicate with one another through a very primitive kind of vibration of the tongue. The closest I can come is a series of drum beats, a sort of Morse code. The psychologist on the first expedition had it worked out before he was killed by the plague. I've studied his notes, and I think it'll work.
You mean these little critters can talk to one another?
Yes, I believe they can. At any rate, we'll have a chance to find out. Do we have something I can use for a drum?
Here, take my water bottle.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, I'll tap it 3 times. That's a greeting of some sort.
Just a moment.
Yes, sir?
I don't want you treating this fellow like an equal. Don't give him the idea that we're desperate. Once they sense that, you're lost.
I have to communicate with him, sir.
Now, just bear in mind what I said. Dignity.
Yes, sir. I'll do my best, sir.
It was a strange sight. On one side of the water bottle crouched little Benny Faulkner, looking for all the world like a human spider. Across from him crouched the Landrian, a humpbacked, gray little creature with an enormous head and those huge, soft lavender eyes. Every few moments, one would stop the strange tattoo of communication, and the other would take it up. I'm setting forth in this narrative the most vital part of their conversation. as Benny Faulkner later transcribed it from the best of his memory. Benny asked, "Why were your cities abandoned? Was it the plague?" The native said yes. Benny said, "Do you still fear the plague?" The native answered yes. "Do any of your people become afflicted?" The answer was some. "How do you treat them?" Silence. "How can we find a cure for the plague?" More silence. Then the native said, "Go among my people." Benny asked, "Will we find the answer among your people?" And the native replied, "My people have the answer." Benny said, "Will you tell me the answer?" The native repeated, "Go among my people." As far as the Landrian was concerned, the conversation was ended. He rose to go, and Faulkner stepped from his path, but Brady was there to ensure the bet.
Hold on there, bucko. You ain't going no place.
Don't maltreat him, Brady. What did he say, Benny?
He says his people have the answer.
What do you think?
There may be some truth in it. He says some of his people still get the plague.
That must mean it isn't a question of immunity. They must have a cure.
Well, he wasn't clear on that.
Then they must have a vaccine to keep it from spreading.
Does he know?
Well, his answer is for us to go among his people.
Well, that leaves it up to us. The first level of caves is on top of that cliff about a mile ahead.
It's a trap. I'll bet my last dollar on it.
Well, maybe not. And we'll have to risk it.
Wait.
Well?
Let me go. I got you all into this.
But how will you talk?
Benny here can give me enough of the code so I can ask the big question.
You understand that they might just decide to cut your throat?
I'm fully aware of the risk.
All right, Doctor. You go ahead. We'll wait at the foot of the cliff. If you aren't back down in 3 hours, we'll come up after you.
What about the Gimpo here?
We'll hold him as a hostage to ensure the doctor's safety. If the doc comes back, all right, we'll let him go. If not, well, that's your job, Brady.
A pleasure.
It took Dr. Morgan about an hour to pick his way up the side of the cliff to the first of the openings where the Landrians lived. He waved to us before he entered the mouth of the cave, and we waved back. Then we settled down to wait. It was a long, long wait.
$8:00. He's been up there more than 3 hours, Cap.
We'll give him a little more time.
It's getting colder.
Yes, keep that fire going.
How much longer are you going to wait, Cap?
Oh, we've got lots of time.
You'd think we'd have heard of something by now if they was going to knock him off, I mean.
No, not necessarily. Wait. Look, up on the cliff.
That's him, all right. Hey, what's he running for?
I don't know. He looks scared.
That crazy fool, if he don't look out...
Doctor! Dr. Morgan, look out! Look out! We found the doctor at the foot of the cliff, crumpled and broken. There were no marks on his body, nothing except a twisted, mocking grin on his face. Oh, yes, and one other thing. Scrawled across the pad he had taken with him on which to make notes concerning the answer was a single word. The word was courtesy. We threw the paper away. The expedition was a failure, though Bat Ears claimed he'd get it out of the Gimpo if I'd let him. I nodded in agreement. Bat Ears took the little native off behind an outcropping of rock. He was back in 15 minutes, dripping with sweat. Well?
Let's go, Cap.
Nothing, huh?
But nothing.
Is he,
They ain't made very good, these little gray people. They come apart too easy, so... Let's go, huh, Cap?
All right. Benny... Benny, what is it?
I feel kind of sick. All of a sudden, in the back of my head, a dull kind of pain.
Let me see your tongue. Come on, give him a hand, Bat Ears. We've got to get him back to camp.
What is it?
I'm not sure, but that blackness on the tongue and the headache, it could be the plague. By the time we got Benny Faulkner back to camp, he had the red spots on his body, and then the fever began to rage. It was the plague, no mistake about it. Before morning, Collins, the supply sergeant, had it. Then it was Peabody. After that, the men went down like 10 pins. Then one morning, Bat Ears Brady dragged himself into my tent and sat down. The lines in his face told me the end was coming pretty fast. Sit down, Brady. Well, what's the count?
6 left. We buried the chaplain today. Got anything to drink?
Sorry, I'm all out.
How about a cigarette, then? You got a cigarette?
Yeah, sure. Here. How's Faulkner?
I don't get it. He's still alive.
Still alive?
Yep. In fact, he's getting better. He's sitting up.
Holy mackerel.
Oh, this is a good cigarette.
It's like any other.
No. This one's different, Cap. This is my last.
What do you mean, Brady?
Take a look at my tongue. See? Little black spots.
Somehow I managed to get him into bed. He was already raving when I gave him the last of the morphine. It was incredible. Big, brawling, Bat Ears Brady, a tower of strength, lying sick and whimpering on a cot. When he died, I went out on the moors to think. The sun was a dull red glow. Cold breeze whipped up. But somehow I couldn't forget Faulkner. Why should Faulkner recover from a plague from which no man has ever recovered? Surely there must be a reason. Nothing happened without a reason. I turned and went back to see Benny Faulkner.
Hello, Captain.
Hello, Benny. How are you?
Pretty good. I got up and walked a couple of steps today. How goes it?
Brady's gone. Oh. I just buried him. Listen, Benny, there must be some reason why...
Well, there's nothing strange about me, nothing different from any other man.
There must be. You survived the virus. Oh. Benny, I want you to tell me everything you know about yourself, everything you can remember. Because somewhere in your makeup is some little thing that makes the difference. If I can find that thing, then maybe I can do something to save myself and the rest. Even if I can't, at least I can leave a record for any future expedition that comes to Landro. Okay?
Okay, Captain. Where should I start?
At the beginning. I'm going to take notes.
Well, I was born on the 2nd of July in 1971. My parents were ordinary people. My father was... Look, Captain, I've told you everything I can remember. 3 days now you've gone over me, pawed me, questioned me. What else can I tell you?
Benny, let's go over that last part once again.
Where should I start?
Take it from where the native started to walk away. You stepped out of his path, and Brady grabbed him.
Okay, so I stepped out of his path.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why did you step out of his path?
Why not? Courtesy, I guess. What's the matter?
Courtesy. That's the word that Dr. Morgan had scrawled in his notebook.
Well, I don't see that.
I don't either. Tell me, Benny, why should you want to be courteous to a native?
Why not?
What about maintaining your own dignity?
Are you talking about dignity or arrogance?
I don't know. Benny, listen, maybe we were all wet in our deductions. Maybe these cities here on Landro weren't deserted centuries ago. Maybe these little people up in the caves are the same people who used to live in those big cities.
Why would they leave?
Maybe they found out the big cities weren't the answer. Maybe they found out that civilization doesn't necessarily bring happiness. So they just packed up and left, returned to the simple.
No, it doesn't make sense. You're forgetting the plague.
What is the plague, Benny?
Well, I don't know.
Is it a virus?
I don't think they ever found out.
You know what I think?
What?
I think the plague is nothing more than what we know as greed and arrogance.
Captain, you're going off your rocker.
I think maybe we're in line to die. Serum was good. In fact, I don't think the serum had anything to do with it.
Oh, I never heard anything as crazy, fantastic in my life.
No? Well, I think I'll go back to my tent and finish writing the report. I am beginning to sweat a little.
Captain, maybe it isn't the plague.
It is. I've seen it too many times to kid myself about it.
Maybe hot compresses or something.
No, Ben.
Listen, Captain, you don't believe that junk about courtesy, do you? I mean, that's a lot of nonsense. You must know that. Holy mackerel, Captain. You do believe it, don't you?
Good night, Benny. I think I'd like to be alone for a while.
Okay. Good night, Captain.
Maybe the supply ship will be early. You can probably stick it out.
Sure. Good night, Captain.
And this concludes my report. I'm turning it over to Benny Faulkner in the hopes that he will be able to transmit it to any other expedition commander who contemplates exploring the planet of Landro. The fever is beginning to mount now. My hands tremble as I write. The end should not be far off. There's little question in my mind as to what it'll be. You see, I didn't have a chance. I stepped out of no paths. I showed no courtesy.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Courtesy, adapted for radio by George Lefferts from the story by Clifford Simad. Featured in the cast were Brett Morrison as Captain Ira Warren, Arnold Robertson as Battiers Brady, Edwin Jerome as Dr. Morgan, and Bill Griffiths as Benny Faulkner. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Ken McGregor and is an NBC Radio Network production. And now, next week, the frontier is a strange place, and a frontier is not always easy to recognize. It may lie on the other side of a simple door marked No Admittance, but it is always deadly dangerous. What happens when an innocent girl ignores a single regulation? You will find out next week at X-1.
When you buy United States savings bonds, you help to build your own future security. Here's an opportunity to save systematically for long-range personal objectives. And with their increased yield and other improvements, U.S. savings bonds are a better investment than ever before.
Into the mysterious South Pacific Ocean sailed the magnificent yacht of Mrs. Patricia Gregory. Captain Tex Bradford, her business manager, and young Jerry Hall went with her in search of Mrs. Gregory's little daughter, Joan. The Gregory yacht is now held to the strange Isle of Euclidia, and all on board are prisoners of G-47 and his colony of scientists. Joan has spent her first night on board the yacht, away from the weird scientists who have raised her in ignorance of the outside world. The Gregory party is just leaving the yacht for their first daylight view of the island.
Well, the island looks a lot different in the daylight.
Everything sparkles just as if it had been polished.
Does someone have to shine that stuff all the time, Joan?
No, Jerry. The whole surface of the island, except the stone we are walking on, is made of some metal that never tarnishes. These buildings have looked exactly the same as long as I can remember, and they are never touched.
It certainly is an island of wonders, even if they are terrible wonders.
They won't be so terrible when we get back to our world with them.
I'm afraid, Captain Bradford, that will never be done.
Have there been many prisoners like ourselves, dear?
A great many, and those who tried to escape are nowhere now.
Gee, didn't they all try to escape?
Oh, no. Most of the Euclideans started as prisoners, But they are as bad as the scientists now.
I can't imagine anyone wanting to become a party to the scientific horrors being created here.
What could the scientists offer these prisoners as a reward for staying and working with them?
I've heard some of them talking, and most of them were people who were not satisfied with their life in the world or their position in it. And G47 has promised each of them a state or a country to rule for their own if they will help him finish his experiments.
This thing is terrific, Patricia. It means world conquest and a world of slaves if we can't prevent it.
You are right, Captain.
Well, let's quit guessing and let Joan explain some of the things she knows for sure about this island.
Yes, G47 gave you permission to take us around the island and explain it, Joan. But don't tell us anything you shouldn't.
Right. No sense in your getting punished for showing us too much.
You need not worry about that. The places I can take you into, you could walk through without me, and the others...
Well, we'll touch only the things you tell us to. But before we go into any of the buildings, there's something I want to know. Something about this concrete or stone that we've been walking on.
I know about that. You want to know why your shoes make no sound when you walk on this surface.
You bet we want to know. Pretty near scared us to death when we were walking around in the dark here last night. And we couldn't even hear our shoes hit this stone.
It felt as if we were walking on a heavy carpet. Yet this is smooth and hard as cement.
I know how that is done. They made this island out of stone, or something hard like stone. Then they painted it with the noiseless paint.
A true soundproof paint. Pat, when I get back to the States and take that formula to the studios, I'll be rich.
Hey, wait a minute.
What happened, Jerry?
Oh, nothing happened. But I just got something you said.
What did I say?
Well, you said when they made this island. You just mean when they fixed up the top of it, don't you?
Not at all. G47 explained the construction of this island quite lucidly. A hidden coral reef was utilized as a base, and the island gradually built up from the sea floor. The coral was used to form this hard substance we are walking on. So it is quite obvious, Jerry. They made the island.
But that would have taken years and an army of men.
How many people are there on this island?
I think 250.
Golly whiskers. Where do they keep them?
There can't be more than a dozen of these little steel buildings on the island. And I know most of these are radio rooms and defense chambers. Where are the people?
Everyone lives on the lower levels, and most of them work there.
Lower levels? How far down does this thing go?
There are 10 levels below us, 100 feet.
Gee whiz.
Gee whiz is very good at this time, Jerry.
100 feet deep. And about 1,000 feet across, eh, Joan?
The main circular part of the island is 600 feet in diameter. It is 800 feet between the control houses halfway out on the piers and 1,000 feet to the ends of the piers.
Then those piers are 200 feet long. How many of them are there?
12 piers and 8 submarines.
Huh? 8 what?
Submarines?
Why, this is a complete fortress.
Where are the submarines now?
They are kept between the piers, deep in the water. You enter them from the 50-foot level.
Submarines anchored 8 fathoms down, and you board them there. Oh, this is so big it's hard to believe. And think of the damage they could do to the world.
Well, what are these little bowl-shaped places on the island floor or roof or whatever this thing we're walking on is called?
It is called the roof when we are up here and the ceiling when we are under it.
There you are, Pat.
I deserved it. What are these little bowls, Joan, dear?
It is in those we have our palm garden during the safe days.
What do you mean, safe days?
When there is no ship near us and the fog ring is let down, the sun comes in, and then we grow a palm garden.
You grow a palm tree garden in these holes when you want it?
Well, that is a comparatively elementary demonstration. The chief agriculturist puts a small quantity of chemical soil in these receptacles, exposes them briefly to the light of sub-ultraviolet ray, then plants palm seeds in them, and in approximately 280 seconds, the island is suitably shaded by palm trees of mature growth.
Oh, boy, Oh, boy.
Have you actually seen that happen, Joan?
Certainly, Mother. When the ocean is free of danger and the governing body wishes to train the colony in conduct in worldly agriculture.
But what if a ship were to come upon you suddenly, or an airplane fly over? It would take time to get rid of those trees.
Only a few seconds, Captain. Just some other chemical put upon them, and in a moment they are only minute piles of vegetable ash in the bowls. Then the fog cloud is thrown around the island while that is happening. The magnetic ring is turned on. and ships pass by without even suspecting the existence of Euclidia.
It's almost too much to believe, my dear, but we know some of it is true, so the rest is more plausible.
Well, we had one boat that didn't pass the island without knowing it was here.
The Euclideans were watching you all the time, and G47 became afraid you might sail away in the night when you were released from the fog ring. So then he ordered the tractive magnets turned on to pull your yacht to the island.
How strong are those magnets?
I am not sure I can quote it accurately, but the design of the necessary strength in those magnets is based on Maxwell's fundamental equation for the pull. And that
Hey, not so fast. Even if you know all that, I don't want to hear it. All I want to know is how large a boat they will pull to the island, and how far at sea this pull may be felt.
I know that some boats have been pulled in which were longer than the piers and had to be destroyed at once as the fog ring would not conceal them.
Jiminy Christmas.
What happened to the people on those boats?
Some of them have joined the scientists in their work, and the others... Oh, I have heard terrible things.
My poor
child. Don't you worry, Joan. We'll get you out of this quick.
I don't know how quick, Jerry, but we'll get out all right.
Here is the room where we make our dresses each day for the next day.
Well, you didn't make one last night.
No, and you looked very charming in one of my dresses, dear.
And even if the material of your dress didn't do us any good last night, the time will come when that material will save our lives, and possibly more than that.
I do not see how that can be. It is a pretty and useful cloth, but after all, just a cloth.
True, dear, but with a cloth that will shield us from the light and sound waves of these scientists, we can secure a little privacy, and Jerry and Tex will try to plan our escape.
We will go in the cloth mill now. And remember, do not ask too many questions, if you have the opportunity to ask any.
Gee whiz! This is the noisiest place I was ever in. And we couldn't hear a sound from the outside.
The walls were treated with the soundproof tape.
Those machines certainly make an awful clatter.
That doesn't seem right to me. With all the other things this bunch has figured out, why don't they silence those machines?
I'll bet they can't stop the noise.
I'll bet they can stop it.
You are right, Captain. These machines are kept noisy for a good reason.
Just to give the people headaches?
No. To keep the Euclideans hearing normal.
G47 hasn't overlooked a bet, has it?
I don't understand it. What value has all this noise? I should think it would be easier on the ears and nerves and everything else to have them run quietly.
I sure don't get it, Tex.
Joan said it was to keep their hearing normal. That means that nearly everything on this island is perfectly silent. And if the people here were never to hear a sound except their own voices, they would soon lose part of the art of hearing. They would not be able to distinguish one sound from another.
Many men have come here, Captain Bradford, but no one else has ever grasped the true reason for these things as you do. I can see why G47 wanted you here.
I understand it now, and you are a clever man, Tex. These men here were really afraid to have you continue your experiments in our world. They wanted your brain here. That's why the yacht was allowed to reach the island.
Well, we came to find Joan, and we got her. So never mind how we got to the island. And if Tex is smart enough that these guys are afraid of him, then he's smart enough to get us out of this.
I hope you're right, Jerry, but I don't feel very smart right now. Show us how the machine works, will you, Joan?
You will notice that large hopper at the intake side of the room, where they are putting the Macrocystis perifera in. That is just ordinary seaweed taken from any kelp bed.
Then that wonderful cloth is made from seaweed?
Gosh, these fellas are plenty smart, all right.
The seaweed is ground up there. Then it goes through all these other machines where they do things to it which I do not understand. Then it comes out on those rollers ready to make dresses of. I do know, however, that before it comes out as you see it, it has gone down to one of the lower levels to a secret laboratory. I have never seen that.
And I'll bet that's where it gets soaked with the sound and light-proof liquid.
If we could only get our hands on some of that liquid.
Right, boy. We could cover the yacht with it and get out of here.
Why, the machinery, the noise has stopped. Has something happened?
I have never known it to stop at this time of day before.
I'll bet it's our fault. Do you think they could hear us talking through all that noise?
Probably if they wanted to, but why stop the machinery?
The alarm. That gong is only rung when someone is trying to escape from the island. Pier 5. Your yacht is anchored at Pier 5, Mother. Someone must be trying to escape from your yacht.
I'll bet the skipper's trying to take a rowboat out. Boy, I hope he makes it.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Kellogg's Pep. P-E-P, Pep. Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine Cereal, presents The Adventures of Superman. Today, as the search for Professor Sturgeon continues, Horatio F. Horn, amateur detective, has run into trouble. Trouble that may mean his life and that of the girl reporter, Lois Lane.
Hello there, gang. This is your pal Dan McCullough. Say, strictly off the record, how many breakfasts would you guess are started off by Kellogg's Pep every morning? Well, you know, I went on the record with a big guess the other day, and I missed it by a mile. Of course, I'm not really surprised that Pep is such a winner. It makes such a slick dish for breakfast, how could anybody resist it? Why, just the looks of a bowl of sunny, golden toasted Kellogg's Pep makes your appetite sit up and take notice right away. And what that sparkling sunshine flavor does for your taste gives you the old come on all right. Pep's Tender Christmas has a way with your appetite, too. Every crunchy flake seems to melt in your mouth. Yes, sir, Kellogg's Pep is so good, you'll keep right on eating until you've polished off every bit in your bowl. And that's keeping on the bean gang, because the cereal grains have been picked out to help give good nourishment to fellows and girls all over the world. Think of that when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer. Don't waste it. If you pour your own Pep, pour it carefully and eat up every bit you pour out. Pass the word along to the rest of your family, too. Remember, eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
And now, the adventures of Superman. When Horatio F. Horn, part-time telegrapher, part-time amateur detective, and part-time correspondent for the Daily Planet in an Ohio village, decoded a telegram which he said indicated danger to Professor John Sturgeon, famous expert on atomic power, he hot-footed it to Metropolis. That same day, Professor Sturgeon was abducted by three mysterious foreign-speaking men. As Superman, Clark Kent streaked to a lodge in the mountains where the telegram had been addressed, but failed to find the professor. Meanwhile, Lois Lane and Horatio Horn had also left for the lodge by car. Battling a violent storm en route, their car skidded on a narrow mountain road and plunged into a swollen mountain stream. As we continue now, Superman is searching for Lois and Horatio, who, having made their way out of the submerged car, are clinging desperately to a slippery log and are being swept by the current at breakneck speed into a wider, icy-cold mountain torrent. Listen.
This water is cold. Are you all right, Miss Lane?
I'm getting numb. And this log is so slippery. I don't think I can hang on much longer.
Now, you've got to hang on. You've just got to, you know. Look at me. I'm hanging on.
Mr. Horn! Mr. Horn, where are you?
Here I am, Miss Lane.
Oh, thank heaven. I thought you were gone.
Oh, it's not so easy to lose Horatio F. Horn. I say this log is slippery. Worse than a greased pig by Gulliver.
What are we going to do? I can't hang on much longer. My hands and feet are like blocks of ice.
But try to keep up your courage, young lady. There's a bend up ahead. If we work our way closer to shore, we might... Oh, my goodness.
Now what?
The foam.
The what?
Well, don't you see the foam on the water? Don't you notice how much faster the current is? Well, that means...
It means what?
Well, look for yourself. You can see around the bend now.
Good heavens. There's a sharp rock sticking out of the water and...
Yes,
and that
it's a falls. We're going to be swept over it. Quick, let's go of the log and swim. Swim for the shore.
The current is strong. I can't swim against it.
You've got to. If we're carried over that rocky falls, it'll be the end of us. Swim, Miss Lane.
No use. I can't.
Leroy, I've got you. Now, hang onto my shoulder.
No, we're both down. You just try to save yourself, Mr. Horn.
And leave a lady in distress. No Horn would think of such a thing. Oh, I say this current is powerful. Can't make much headway.
Let me go, I tell you. Save yourself.
It's too late now. We're going over the fall.
Relax, Miss Lane. You too, Mr. Horn. Everything's under control.
Oh,
Superman!
no. My Gulliver, we stopped moving.
Under this arm with you, Miss Lane. You under this arm, Mr. Horn.
Superman, I can't believe it. I thought it was the end.
So did I. I say, my good fellow, are you really Superman?
Here's where you find out. Up and away!
Why, we're flying. We really are. I say you are Superman.
At your service. I noticed a farmhouse around here before. You two need some dry clothing in a hurry and something hot to drink.
An excellent idea, by Gulliver.
We haven't time for that, Superman. Look, Professor Sturgeon, the atom bomb scientist, was abducted. We think some foreign agents took him to a mountain lodge near here. If you'll take us there.
I'll do everything I can to find the professor. I'll take you to the farmhouse and go on to the lodge. Down! Down! Leaving Lois Lane and Horatio Horn at the farmhouse, Superman streaks to Maple Lodge, which he now finds completely deserted. Carefully, he searches the low, rambling building and then the surrounding woods and countryside. Finally, he is about to give up and return to Metropolis when he sees an ancient car chugging up to the lodge door. Swiftly resuming the guise and garb of Clark Kent, he walks around the house to greet Lois and Horatio Horn as they step from the car.
Hello, Lois. Mr. Horn, what are you doing up here?
Clark Kent, so you did come up here.
Oh, yes, of course. You see,
I see, all right. You left me to wait for Inspector Henderson while you rushed up here to scoop me on the story.
I wasn't thinking of the story. I was thinking of Professor Sturgeon. I could get up here much faster
Let's
alone.
not quarrel, young people. Quarreling disturbs the clear process of reason. And as the president of my alma mater, the famous corresponding school
Please,
detective
never mind your
Institute says...
alma mater now, Mr. Horn. Let's hear from this other great detective, Mr. Kent. What did you find up here, Clark? Except mosquitoes, I mean.
Well, practically nothing, Lois.
I thought so. Who lives in the lodge?
Nobody at the moment.
But I say, someone must live here. This is where the telegram was addressed. You know, the one I decoded. It said, airship, big fish, atom.
There's nobody here now, though. Even the caretaker disappeared.
What caretaker?
The one I spoke to when I was here before. Frank, his name was. He was apparently in on the plot because he sent me off on a wild goose chase.
Minute,
I would have caught up with him, though, if I hadn't had to go
Just a
looking.
minute, I said. How could you have been here before?
What do you mean?
Why, you've hardly had time to get up here from Metropolis.
Why?
And you couldn't have been looking for us. You deserted us in Metropolis.
No.
And it's only due to a miracle, or to Superman, to be exact, that
Now,
we're
look.
alive. Come to think of it. Where is he?
Never
He said
mind
he-
about Superman or how or why I got here. We haven't a moment to wait. So if you want me to tell you what happened, you'll have to stop interrupting.
Well, really? This all sounds fishy to me, and
Now,
I don't
look,
like your
Lois,
high-handed manner, Mr.
He's quite
Kent.
upset by this terrible affair, Miss Lane, and so are we. The thing to do is to sit down quietly, talk this over. Harmony brings about a meeting of the minds. As the president of my alma mater, the famous corresponding school detective institute says,
Please,
I
spare
think
me,
we ought
Mr.
to...
Horn.
Me too,
Spare me.
Mr.
Go
Horn.
on, Clark. You and I will settle this later. Tell me about the caretaker.
Well, I said I think he was in on the plot because when I questioned him about the big fish telegram, he looked definitely startled.
He did?
Then he admitted the lodge had been rented to someone for the summer, someone who had moved out very suddenly this morning.
When Professor Sturgeon was abducted.
Right. He said I could find the man at 96 Walnut Street in Metropolis.
He did?
Yes.
Well, why didn't you say so before?
Now,
what
wait
are
a
we standing around here for? Let's get started.
If you just let me get a word. Wait a minute. Just a moment. Let me finish, will you? Caretaker gave me a wrong steer.
What do you mean, Clark?
I mean, there is no 96 Walnut Street.
What?
There's a vacant lot where number 96 Walnut Street should be.
What's that? A vacant lot, you say?
Yes.
How do you know?
I happen to know that part of Walnut Street.
Well, then...
We're up a tree here, Mr. Kent.
Right, and I don't know where to go from here. Wait a minute. What's that?
I don't see anything.
What?
Oh, I hear a telephone. In the lodge. Come on, maybe someone's calling the man who lived here. Hello, this is Maple Lodge.
Clark Kent there, please.
What?
Inspector Henderson of the Metropolis Police Department.
Oh,
calling.
hello, Inspector. This is Kent speaking.
Henderson?
Yes, just a minute, Lord.
Did you find anything up there?
Not a thing, except Miss Lane and Horatio Horn. How about you?
I found something.
You did? What's that?
Well, I don't want to speak about it on the phone. How soon can you get back to Metropolis?
Oh, a minute or two.
Good. A minute or two? Hey, who do you think you are, Superman?
Could be. I'll be there as soon as possible, Inspector.
Step on it, Kent. This is important.
We'll be back in a moment for the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
You know, gang, this week's Pep Dish of the Week is practically out of this world, the way it sends your breakfast appetite skyrocketing. Hey, did I say skyrocket? Well, that's it. Sure, this week's Pep Dish of the Week is a peach rocket, as neat a dish as you'd ever hope to taste. Here's how it goes. You take firm, ripe slices of fresh peaches and line the sides of your bowl with them, so they're pointing up like rockets. Then pour on your serving of Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal, and see how the tips of the peaches show up at the top. Add milk and sugar, and there's your peach rocket. Talk about delicious. And Kellogg's Pep is a winner no matter how you serve it. Crisp and tender for one thing. Each crunchy flake practically melts in your mouth. And Pep is the whole wheat flake cereal with that sparkling sunshine flavor. A comeback for more flavor that tickles your taste until you've eaten up every bit in your bowl. It's especially important nowadays not to waste cereal, because we're sending the cereal grains to fellows and girls overseas. So, gang, when Mom brings Kellogg's Pep home from the grocer's, don't waste it. Pour it out carefully and finish off every bit you pour out. Get hep to Pep, gang. Eat all your Pep. Don't waste it.
Leaving Lois Lane and Horatio Horn to return to Metropolis in their borrowed car, Clark Kent slipped away, resumed his true identity as Superman, and rocketed back to Metropolis. As we join him now, he is in the office of Police Inspector Henderson, examining a finely engraved gold medal.
Here's the magnifying glass, Kent. I want you to read the inscription on that medal. I can read it without the glass, Inspector. It says, presented to Alonzo A. Sturgeon in admiration by the International Scientific Society.
Uh-huh.
Well, what about it?
Remember what Sturgeon's butler said about the three men who took the professor away?
Yes, of course. He said they gave Sturgeon some story about wanting him to accept a medal from their society. Hey, wait a minute. You mean...
Exactly, Kent. They said they were from the International Scientific Society. This was the medal they were giving to the professor. Oh. They wanted him to come to a banquet or something and accept it formally. Uh-huh. The professor didn't want to go, so they took him forcibly.
Well, now, wait a minute. How do you know they said the International Scientific Society?
Well, the butler said so.
Well, he told me he couldn't remember the name of the society.
He remembered the name when we found this medal on the lawn.
Oh, I see. Well, look, what is this society?
As soon as I find that out, I'll find the professor.
As soon as... You mean it isn't listed?
I can't find any trace of it in Metropolis. Must have a foreign headquarters. Healy's checking on it now with Dr. McCrae at the university. Just a minute. That may be Healy now. Hello? Oh, yes, Healy. What did you find out about that society? What? You're sure? Well, how do you like that? Okay. So long.
What is it, Inspector?
That was Healy. Calling from Dr. McCrae's office at the university, Kent.
Yes?
McCrae says there is no International Scientific Society anywhere in the world.
Startled, Clark Kent and Inspector Henderson stare at each other, realizing that their only clue to Professor Sturgeon has turned out to be no clue at all. What will happen now? A small group of power-mad men possessed of the atom bomb secret can threaten the world as it has never been threatened before. And even Superman may be unable to prevent the catastrophe in time. Monday's episode is tense and exciting, gang, so don't miss it. Tune in, same time, same station.
And remember, for breakfast, it's Kellogg's Pep.
For excitement, the adventures of Superman.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC comic magazines and is brought to you Monday through Friday at the same time by Kellogg's Pep, the Sunshine cereal. You know, gang, famous names make history. And Kellogg, the greatest name in cereals, has made history with good breakfast eating for a long time. For example, Kellogg's shredded wheat, so crisp, so toasty, so delicious. Tender plump biscuits, 15 of them to a package. That's 15 biscuits crammed with their own natural nut-sweet flavor and made just the right size to fit the bowl. And remember, this is whole wheat, so it's good for you, too. Ask Mom for Kellogg's shredded wheat. And be sure to be with us on Monday for the thrilling adventures of Superman. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Tired of the everyday grind?
Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all? We offer you Escape.
Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
In a farmhouse on the southern coast of England, the autumn countryside around you desolate and bleak. And you know that in the dusk outside, waiting patiently for you, silently watching for you, is an enemy from whom there may be no escape.
Listen now as Escape brings you Daphne du Maurier's story, The Bird.
On December the 3rd, the wind changed overnight, and it was winter. Until then, the autumn had been mellow, soft. The earth was rich where the plow had turned it. I didn't do the plowing, no. My wartime disability had seen to that. They gave me mostly the lighter repair jobs to do in the 3 days a week that I worked at the farm. Deborah and I had taken a cottage up here to try again, for the sake of the children. And it seemed to be working fairly well. I enjoyed my work on the farm. It was pleasant to pause at midday to eat the lunch that Debbie prepared and brought for me. We'd sit there on the cliff while I ate, and we'd watch the birds.
So many of them, Matt.
Yes. Oh, the autumn's better than spring for watching them.
Oh, why?
Oh, well, in the spring they're content, they're full of purpose, they know where they're going, there's no delay. But then in autumn it's different. The birds that don't migrate seem to follow a pattern of their own.
Pattern?
Great flocks of them here on the peninsula. Restless, uneasy, wheeling, circling, coming to rest and flying again. The land birds and the gulls down there in the bay. Strange sort of rhythm in their movements.
They don't really go anywhere. Doesn't seem to be any purpose to it.
No. What if there is? We don't see it. Restlessness. They're more restless this year than usual, seems to me. Do you know, this morning 2 gulls flew so close they knocked off my cap?
You said yesterday when the school bus let her off, there was quite a few of them overhead as if they'd been followed.
Oh, well, I suppose it means a hard winter. They always seem to know. Perhaps a message comes to them in autumn. A warning.
About winter?
And about death.
Not.
Many of them will die, and I think they know it. Perhaps they feel they have to spill their emotion out before they die. Like people who know their time is up and run about stupidly driving themselves.
You wouldn't talk like that, Nat. That black side of you that stirred up the trouble between us before.
Oh, I'm sorry, Debbie. But it's come over me lately as I've watched them. The land birds mingling with the sea birds in a sort of strange, unnatural partnership. Land and sea. And life and death. That night it turned colder, and the wind strengthened. Around 2 in the morning, the sound of it beating against the house woke me up. I lay there with this slow, even breathing of Debbie beside me, and I thought of Jill and Johnny in the room across the hall. We seemed safe, secure. And then I heard it. A tapping on the window. First I thought it was a loose shutter, and then I realized it wasn't. I got out of bed, went to the window, opened it. Suddenly something brushed against my hand. It jabbed at my knuckles, and then it was gone over the roof and behind the cottage.
Yes. What's it?
It's all right, Debbie. It was a bird. I don't know what kind.
Bird?
Wind must have driven it against the window, so my hand's wet. It's blood. Decatur blood.
That's cute, Nat.
Must have been frightened and stabbed at me in the dark. Well, but
Nat, the window seat was cracking.
I've already seen it. There's some bird trying to get in.
Send them away. I can't sleep with that noise.
All right. Oh, off with you. Why, little... Stay away from my face. Out! Get away!
Never in the world.
Did you see that? There were half a dozen this time. They went for me. They tried to peck my eyes.
Oh, Dad.
I'm not making it up, Dick.
What? It's Jill. Go see what's the matter.
Right. Coming, Jill. Where's Johnny?
Under the blanket. What's the matter?
Quick, get the children out of here.
Bird. The room's full of birds. And my thing.
Get the children out of here and shut the door. Quick. I pushed them out of the room, and now I was alone with the birds. I seized the blanket, and I used it as a weapon, sweeping it right and left. I could hear the thud of bodies, but they kept coming at me. They're jabbing my hands, my head, trying for my eyes with beaks as sharp as pointed forks. And I wrapped the blanket around my head, beat about with my bare hands, blindly. I don't know how long I fought them. Finally, the beating of wings lessened, and then... But still, I unwrapped the blanket from my face. The cold gray dawn had seeped into the room. The floor was littered with the tiny corpses of the birds. Robins, finches, sparrows, larks. Some had lost feathers in the fight. The others had blood. My blood on their beaks. Sickened, I went to the window. The fierce sea broke harshly on the bay. But there was not a bird in sight. Not a sparrow chattered in the hedge, no early thrush or blackbird pecked on the grass for worms. There was no sound at all but the east wind and the sea.
Nat?
I'm all right, Debbie.
Oh, I didn't know. What? We're covered with blood.
Some of it's the birds. Look on the floor.
Oh. So many of them.
Yeah, 50. I counted them.
It's horrible.
Come on, darling. I'll clean the room later when I've more stomach for it.
It must have been ghastly for
Are the children all right?
Yes, I put Jill to work making tea. Johnny's in our bed just now asleep. Not why.
The birds? Well, it must be the weather. The sudden change confused them. It has to be that.
The tea's ready, Mommy.
Oh, good.
Did you drive away the birds?
Yes, they're all gone now, Jill.
I hope they won't come again. Perhaps if we put breadcrumbs for them outside the window, they'll eat that and fly away.
Yes, dear.
I've already had breakfast. I've got to hurry or I'll be late for the school bus.
But, I'll walk with you to the road, Jill.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
I'll go get my coat and book.
I didn't want her to walk alone.
Nat, they wouldn't come back again.
All right. I'll go over to the farm and find out if they heard anything during the night. You keep all the windows and doors closed, Debbie, just to be on the safe side, Hello? Anyone about?
Mr. Hawkins.
Was the mister around, Mrs. Trigg?
Summer's about, but can you tell me where this coal is coming from? Russia? I've never seen such a change, and it's going on, the wireless says. Something to do with the Arctic Circle.
We didn't turn on the wireless this morning. Fact is, we had trouble in the night.
Oh, Kitty's poorly.
No, not exactly, no. We had some trouble with birds. Why, it sounds absurd, but they flew in the window and attacked us.
Attacked you? No, Mr. Hawkins.
I'm not making it up, Mrs. Trigg. There are 50 dead birds on the floor of the children's bedroom.
Foreign birds.
No. No, the kind you see about here every day.
Really, well, you ought to write up and ask the Manchester Guardian. They have an officer on it.
Morning, Hawkins.
Mr. Trigg.
Mr. Hawkins has been telling about some birds last night.
Oh.
They, he says they attacked him.
Attacked? Are you sure?
Quite.
Never heard of a thing like that before. Hungry, maybe. Looking for food. You put out some crumbs.
Yes, of course. I'll be up tomorrow as usual. Good morning.
Ordinary birds, he says.
Attacked him. Now, what did he take us for, coming around with a story like that? He's a strange one, he is, with those superior airs. You see the look he gave us when we didn't swallow his story? Attacked him. I think he reads too many of those books.
Did you find out anything at the farm?
No. The Trigg's brilliant advice is to put out some crumbs. Debbie, I looked all around this morning. There's not a single bird in sight outdoors.
Where've they gone?
I don't know.
The Triggs had no trouble last night.
Not only that, they clearly thought I was imagining it. Oh, I heard Trigg mutter something about my superior airs and reading too many books as I walked away. Nothing's real to those clods until it hits them over the head.
Well, they're nice enough people, Ned. Just that they're isolated up here.
Well, that's certainly the polite word for it.
I haven't been able to face going into the children's room. The birds...
Oh, yes, I'll go and clean it up. I suppose the least I can do is give the little beggars a decent burial. I dropped the dead birds into a sack, went down to the beach to bury them. The wind was bitter cold. I dug a pit in the sand with my heel and started to empty the sack into it, but the wind caught the birds and whirled them along the shore. There was something ugly in the sight, but the tide would take them when it turned. I looked out at the crested breakers, and then I saw them. The gulls. Out there, riding the seas. Thousands. Tens of thousands. They rose and fell in the trough of the sea like a mighty fleet at anchor, waiting for the turn of the tide. Waiting. They stretched as far as my eye could reach. They covered the sea. I started up the steep path home, almost running. Someone should know of this. Someone should be told. But who? And then as I opened the front door, I saw Debbie beside the wireless listening.
Damage and even attacking individuals. It is thought that the Arctic airstream is causing the birds to migrate south in immense numbers, and that intense hunger may drive them to attack human beings. Householders are warned to see to their windows, doors, and chimneys, and to take all precautions for the safety of their children. Further bulletins will be issued later.
They've been repeating it every few minutes since you left.
Well, perhaps now those empty-headed idiots at the farm will know that I was...
You sound almost scared.
Oh, don't talk rot, Debbie. It's just that when people with half a brain try to tell me that I...
You forget that superior attitude of yours even now.
Don't use that word superior to me. I'm sick of it.
So am I, Nat. So am I. You... Oh, I'm sorry, dear. This thing has made me a little nervy, I guess.
Yes, I'm sorry too, Marty.
Nat, one of the bulletins said the birds seem to be waiting. For what?
I don't know. They said the birds are hungry.
What are you doing?
Yeah, the hammer. I'm going to get some boards and see to the doors and windows as they tell you to.
You think they could break in with the windows shut? There's sparrows and robins and such. How could they?
I wasn't thinking about the smaller birds. I was thinking about the gulls.
The gulls?
Debbie, have you ever been close enough to get a good look at a gull's beak? There must be 100,000 of them out there, riding the sea, waiting. first of the morning, I worked upstairs, boarding the bedroom windows. And I wondered whether they'd take these precautions up at the farm. I doubted it. They thought it'd be a joke to the Triggs. But according to the wireless, it was no joke. At first, some of the bulletins had been light in tone, but as the morning wore on, the concern in the announcer's voice became more and more apparent. Well, after I finished upstairs, I took the rest of the lumber down, boarded up the lower floor windows.
What they ought to do is call the army out and shoot the birds. That would soon scare them off.
Debbie, how are we off for food?
Now, Nat, whatever next.
Now, never mind. What have you got in the larder?
Shopping in it tomorrow, you know that. I don't keep uncooked food hanging about. It goes off. But I can put some things in tomorrow.
Tomorrow? It's only 3 in the afternoon, and it's almost dark.
What? Why, yes. The sky looks so heavy. Nat, what's the matter? You've gone quite white.
Look. The tide's turned. The gulls.
They've risen.
Circling over the sea. Not a sound from them.
Nat.
I'm going for Jill. I'll wait for her at the bus stop. You keep Johnny inside and keep the door shut. Outside, I looked for a weapon, but a hoe was all I could find. And I went to the top of the hill and waited. The surf was booming below, and a smudge rose behind the clay hills in the distance. It widened, divided, and spread north, east, south, west. It was a vast cloud of birds. It passed close by, heading inland, up country. They had no business with the people here on the peninsula. Rooks, crows, jackdaws, magpies, birds that usually preyed upon the smaller species. But this afternoon they were bound on some other mission. They've been given the towns, I thought. They know what they have to do. We don't matter so much here. The gulls will serve for us. The others go to the towns. And finally the bus came. When Jill got out, I took her by the hand.
Daddy.
Oh, I just brought it along. Come along now, darling. Let's go home. It's cold. No hanging about.
I want to play a bit in the rain.
Not tonight. Now, come on. No dawdling.
Look, Daddy. Look over there. Look at the gulls. They're flying in from the sea. It's so quiet.
Yes, do hurry, darling.
Where are they flying to?
Oh, up country, I dare say, where it's warmer.
Don't go so fast. I can't keep up.
Hurry.
The gulls, they're circling. It looks like they're waiting for something.
Yes, a signal, an order.
What?
Nothing. Come on, dear, faster.
But I can't go faster.
Wait. There's Trig in his two-seater.
Well, it looks as though we're in for some fun, Hawkins. Have you heard the news? Everyone's gone bird crazy, talking of nothing else. I'm going to take a crack at them with my gun.
Could you run Jill home first?
Oh, yes, of course. Not room for you too, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's all right. Just get Jill home. Get in, Julia.
You like to come shooting with me?
No, thanks. Have you boarded your windows?
No. There's a lot of nonsense. They like to scare you on the wireless.
I'd board them if I were you.
Oh, go on. You're windy. Well, see you in the morning. I'll give you a gull breakfast.
I watched Trig drive Jill toward the cottage, and then I followed on foot. The sound made me look up. The gulls were approaching. The order had been given, and the farm was their target. The black-backed gulls were leading, and there were bigger birds. Gannets, terns. And suddenly one of them dove at me, missed, rose to dive again, and then came the other, 6, 7, dozens. I dropped the hoe, covered my head with my arms, and ran toward the cottage. They kept coming at me from the air with beating wings. Each stab of a swooping beak tore my flesh. I had to keep them from my eyes. With each dive they became bolder, and they had no thought for themselves. When they missed, they crashed, bruised and broken on the ground. And as I ran, I stumbled, kicking their spent bodies in front of me. Another aimed up better, closer to my eyes, closer. And then I reached the door of the cottage. Let me in! It's Nat! Let me
Coming in!
And then, above me, I saw the gannet poised against the sky for his dive. The gulls drew back, only the huge gannet. The wings folded suddenly to its body, and it flapped like a stone at me. The door opened, and I flung myself in.
It's Claude. What was that?
A gannet. He just split my skull.
Better now?
Yes, thanks. You're quite the wound dresser. Are the children?
In the other room, I didn't want them to see you that way.
No.
Your hands are the worst.
I'll be all right. We'd better all sleep here in the kitchen tonight. I'll bring down the mattresses.
All right. I'll fix something tasty for supper and we can prepare.
Wait.
That sound. What is it?
The birds crowding against the outside of the house. They're trying to find a way in.
Nat.
No, they can't get in. I tell you, they cannot get in. The boards will hold.
For how long? How long before...
Yeah. I'll turn on the wireless. I'll drown them out. That's better.
Yes. Anything so I can't hear the whole of it.
It's only the food that worries me, Debbie. But now I've noticed that the birds come in with the tide, but the tide will go out about 9 tonight, and we should have a lull of about 6 hours. I could slip out during that time and go to the farm, see if they can give us something.
Here's London. A national emergency was proclaimed at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Yes.
Measures are being taken to safeguard the lives and property of the population, but it must be understood that these are not easy to effect immediately, due to the unforeseen and unparalleled nature of the present crisis. It is absolutely imperative that everyone remain indoors until further notice. The birds, in vast numbers, are attacking everything in sight. The population is asked to remain calm and not to panic. There will be no further transmission from any broadcasting station until 7 a.m. tomorrow.
It's like this all over again. All over.
Debbie, about supper, let's forget it. Let's all just try to get some sleep.
Wake up. Nat, they're back again.
What time is it?
A little after 3.
The tide's come in again.
There's been a queer smell the last few minutes. Rather like burned feathers.
What? Burned feathers? The chimney. I forgot to get the fire up. It's coming down the chimney.
No.
Where's the oil?
On the shelf.
There they are. Squeezing through the chimney. Stand back. They just throw the oil on the coal. There. That'll get them.
Nat, I can't stand it.
Get me paper, wood, anything it'll burn. Hurry. Their charred bodies kept dropping down the chimney. I raked them to one side, but more came. I threw on the rest of the oil. We piled papers on it, kindling, anything. The flames roared higher. More bodies. The stench was unbearable. I kept at it. Finally, they gave up. And I went over to the basin. I was sick. Around 9 in the morning, the rustling ceased. I opened the door a crack. Crushed birds were deep about the house, but there was not a living bird in sight. The tide had gone out. Now was my chance to get food and fuel. I ran all the way to the farm. There was no smoke from the chimney. I came around the corner of the house and stopped in the doorway. Almost covered with dead birds were Mr. and Mrs. Trigg. What was left of them. Beside him was his gun. Beside her, a broken umbrella. I loaded the 2-seater with all the food I could find, enough for perhaps 3 days, and drove back to the cottage. I told Debbie the Triggs didn't need their car for a while and had told me to take it. She said nothing. And towards nightfall, the birds came back again.
We sat by the fire and listened to the rustle as they crowded against the house. But this time there was a new sound. They brought up their heavier forces against us, the birds with larger beaks. I could hear the sound of tiny bits of wood being torn away.
They will stay till the tide turns. Then they leave. Then they'll come back again. They'll keep coming back. Nat.
Yes?
The pigs. They're dead, aren't they?
Yes.
They're all alone. Strange. I keep closer to you than I've ever.
That it should take something like this to bring it. Debbie, you may be interested to know that right now, I do not feel very superior.
Don't, Nat. Oh, Nat. That's what I do.
I don't know, Debbie. I do not know. I listened to the sound of the splintering wood. And I wondered how many million years of memory were stored in those little brains, behind the stabbing beaks, the piercing eyes, now giving them this instinct to destroy mankind with all the deft precision of machines. The switch on the wireless was dead. I reached for the cigarettes. There was only one left in the packet. I lit it. I threw the empty packet on the fire and watched it burn.
Under the direction of Norman MacDonald, Escape has brought you The Bird by Daphne du Maurier, specially adapted for radio by Robert Wright, starring Ben Wright with Virginia Gregg. Featured in the cast were John Daner, Ann Morrison, Ann Whitfield, and John Dodsworth. Your announcer, George Walsh. The special music for Escape is composed and conducted by Leith Stevens.
Nestle's Quick for the greatest tasting chocolate milk and those famous Nestle's chocolate bars present Space Patrol! High adventure in the wild, vast reaches of space. Missions of daring in the name of interplanetary justice. Travel into the future with Buzz Corey, Commander-in-Chief of the Space Patrol! In today's transcribed Space Patrol adventure, Buzz and Appy are in their spacesuits advancing across the rocky surface of the planet Mercury toward the hideout of an escaped criminal.
Hold it, Appy. Something moved up there ahead of us. It looked like an animal of some kind. An animal on Mercury? Yeah, that's right. Whatever it is, there's another one. They're small robots. Castro is probably using them to observe us. They look like turtles, except that they move a lot faster. You go back a few hundred yards and figure out another plan of action. Look behind us. We're surrounded by them. Yes, sir. Oh, my leg! Some kind of weapon. They're shooting pain rays right through our spacesuits. They're closing in on us, dozens of them. Commander, I can't move.
We'll return in just a moment with today's exciting Space Patrol adventure, the super brain of Balmer Castro.
Say, Captain Two-Fell, will you settle an argument for me and the gang?
I'll sure try, Tony. What's the trouble?
Well, sir, we're all fighting over which Nestle's chocolate bar is the best. Katie says the milk chocolate. Joey votes for the almond bar. But I say Crunch is the greatest. What do you think?
Well, now, Tony, that is a tough one. Because as everybody knows, Nestle's makes the very best chocolate, no matter which bar you favor. There's nothing as smooth and creamy as a Nestle's milk chocolate bar in the red and white wrapper. And the Nestle almond bar in the blue and white wrapper is the same rich chocolate loaded with fresh toasted almonds.
How about my favorite, Crunch?
I was coming to that. Nestle's Crunch is the really different chocolate bar with a mystery, crunchy consistency that gets crisper with every bite. It's really out of this world.
But which one do you really think is best?
Best? Why, any Nestle's bar is best, Tony. There's never any argument about that. So, gang, when you want the best in chocolate bars, you want Nestle's. You know what Commander Corey says? He says Nestle bars are tops in our ration because they have all the rich milk and sugar it takes to speed up your jets and give you extra rocket energy.
But, Captain, you still haven't settled our argument.
Well, tell you what, Tony, why don't you take this handful of Nestle's bars to the gang and tell them there's no use arguing. Just remember, Nestles. Nestle's makes the very best chocolate. And now, today's Space Patrol adventure, the super brain of Balmer Castro. For nearly an hour, Commander Corey and Cadet Happy have listened spellbound to Dr. Ernest Blake as the great authority on the human mind describes his new invention, the cerebroscope. Dr. Blake, a member of the clinical consulting staff of the Criminal Rehabilitation Center on the planet Mars, has made a special space flight to Terra to report his recent discoveries to Commander Corey.
As I understand it, Dr. Blake, your cerebroscope can actually increase or amplify intelligence.
Yes, Commander. Its full applications and possibilities can't be estimated at present without further tests.
A moment ago, Doctor, you said you had increased the intelligence of rats with your cerebroscope.
Yes, from 50 to 100%.
Wow. It's very interesting, Dr. Blake, but... Dr. Blake, have you experimented on humans?
That is one reason for my visit, Commander. I want official permission to test the cerebroscope on volunteers in the Criminal Rehabilitation Center.
You mean on those eligible to be discharged as cured?
Naturally. It might be dangerous to increase the mental powers of those who still have criminal tendencies. Just how dangerous, no one can say.
I don't believe you've answered my question, Doctor. Have you experimented on humans?
I made one test. Or rather, my assistant did.
Who was the subject?
I was.
What were the results?
Before the experiment, I took several intelligence tests under supervision of my assistant. After just 5 minutes of cerebroscope radiations, I repeated those tests along with similar tests. Commander, my score was more than 40% higher.
Smoking rockets. And you're now more intelligent than you were before.
Perhaps. But I don't know how permanent the effects are or in how many areas of intellect the radiations are effective. That's why I want to make more tests on others.
Dr. Blake, I'd like to look into this matter a little further before I make a recommendation.
Well, could you come to the Rehabilitation Center and examine the cerebroscope?
I'd like to very much, Doctor. But I can't get away for at least 2 days.
Well, I have some business here on Terra that will keep me here that long. Suppose I contact you day after tomorrow.
Fine, Doctor. We'll see you then.
A short distance from Lowell City on the planet Mars is the Criminal Rehabilitation Center. Here, one of the latest arrivals, Balmer Castro, is undergoing initial processing. He sits silently as the official interviewer, Rhoda Nexon, gives him routine instructions.
In this first test, a series of questions will be flashed on the screen.
Break it off, Rhoda. Break it off. Your attendants are gone.
Well, just to be safe, Mr. Castro, I think we'd better proceed with a regular test.
Now, look, I offered to let you use that cerebroscope on me in return for a chance to escape. The quicker you give me that treatment, the sooner I can figure a way to get out of here.
I know, but we can't make it obvious that I'm helping you escape. I'm taking enough chances as it is.
I'll cover you, Rhoda. I'll make it look as though I forced you to help me.
Well, then at least take part of the test. We've got plenty of time. The attendants won't be back for 3 hours.
How long does the cerebroscope treatment take?
I'm going to give you 15 minutes of radiation.
And that'll make me the smartest operator in the solar system, huh?
Well, I can't promise that, but your brain will be at least twice as efficient as it is now. Shall we get on with the test?
All right.
A few hours later, in Space Patrol headquarters on Terra, Commander Corey gives Cadet Happy some astonishing news.
I don't know the full details yet, Happy, but Balmer Castro escaped from the rehab center.
Smoking rockets? How did he manage that?
That's the big mystery, Hap. It's almost as though he had the cooperation of the whole staff, yet we know that's impossible.
Commander, is it true about Castro? Is that why you sent for me?
Yes, Dr. Blake, it's true.
I can't believe it. No one has ever escaped from that Martian center.
I haven't pieced the story together yet, Doctor, but somehow Castro managed to deceive several key members of the staff. He literally walked out, or rather drove out in a surface car, and no one raised a hand to stop him.
I've had a strange premonition all morning, Commander. A strong feeling that something was wrong at the center. Since I took that cerebroscope treatment, my mind seems sensitive to thoughts of others. He must have had help to escape like that. Such a thing is unthinkable. Our staff is thoroughly reliable.
I know. And they're experienced in dealing with clever criminals.
This had to happen while I was away.
I haven't told you the worst part of it, Doctor. Your assistant, Rhoda Nexon, disappeared with Castro.
What?
And your cerebroscope is missing.
No.
It's true.
Hey, the cerebroscope. Say, wait a minute. Maybe that's the explanation.
How about it, Doctor? Could your device make a super-intelligent crook out of an ordinary swindler?
I can't say for certain. But I am afraid it's possible.
Well, still, how would Castro have known about the cerebroscope? And who would he get to give him the treatment?
That's what we're going to find out. Let's get to the spaceport and blast off for Mars.
An all-planets alert has given every Space Patrol agent a description of Balmer Castro and Dr. Blake's missing assistant, Rhoda Nexon. At this moment, the escaped criminal sits calmly in a small apartment in Lowell City, Mars, while Rhoda Nexon nervously but expertly checks a series of test forms.
Haven't you finished yet, Rhoda?
Oh, yes, but I was just rechecking.
Why waste time? You know as well as I do that the answer tabulating system is foolproof.
These results are unbelievable. Fantastic.
Then I am a genius, is that it?
It's frightening. Your score is 28 points higher than the previous top rating.
Is that so? And who is the ex-champion?
Professor Maxwell Huxley, a descendant of a long line of geniuses.
So I topped old Huxley, huh?
Well, not in the matter of actual information, of course, but in intellectual potential, you're far superior.
Naturally. So the cerebroscope made me an all-around genius.
No. In moral values, the sense of right and wrong, you're still subnormal. Well, Mr. Castro, we've completed the agreement, so I'll be going.
You'll remain with me. I may have further use for you.
I don't want any money from you, Mr. Castro, and I promise I won't go to the Space Patrol. Just let me go.
You might as well stop begging, Rhoda. Your pleading has absolutely no effect upon me, except to irritate me. I don't trust you, Miss Nexon, and I have good reason not to.
Well, what do you mean? Didn't I help you escape?
You had no intention of keeping that promise, Rhoda. You merely wanted a human guinea pig for an experiment. Dr. Blake refused to test his invention on human beings, so you decided to take advantage of his absence and do a little research on your own. Isn't that right?
Well, how did you know that?
And I was right. You didn't dream that Blake's gadget would make me able to outsmart you and the rest of the staff at the rehab center.
But I told you it would. Why would I risk getting in bed with Dr. Blake and losing my job? You've got what you wanted, a powerful brain and your freedom. Oh, be fair, Mr. Castro. Let me go.
Oh, you forget, Rhoda, that although my intellect is high, my sense of fairness, of right and wrong, is subnormal. Now, you're staying with me. Now, be quiet. I have to figure a way out of our present danger.
Danger? What danger?
I don't know exactly. But I have a strong sense of an opposing force. A powerful mind working against me. I think, in fact, I'm sure it's the mind of Dr. Ernest Blake.
Elsewhere at the Terra spaceport, Commander Corey and Cadet Happy are ready to blast off for Mars. With them in the control compartment of the Terra 5 is Dr. Blake.
Instrument check completed, Commander.
Good. Dr. Blake will blast off as soon as we get the go-ahead from Space Control. Just relax.
There's something I should have told you before, Commander. I don't think there's any doubt that my assistant, Rhoda Nexon, is responsible for Castro's escape. Mind you, I can't give you a single bit of evidence for suspecting her of disobedience. Yet I'm convinced of it. What's more, I'm sure that before we reach Mars, I'll be able to tell you where to find Rhoda and Castro.
I hope you're right.
Space Control Terra to Commander Corey aboard Terra 5.
Corey here. Go ahead, Space Control.
Mars space lock is clear, sir. Space Control on.
Stand by for blast-off.
Standing by, sir.
Fire rockets.
Fire rockets.
Up, ship and away.
Come on, Rhoda. Let's get out of here.
Space Patrol must be looking for us everywhere. For all we know, there may be agents out in the street right now.
There aren't. Our main source of danger is coming toward us now, from Terra.
How do you know?
Don't ask questions. I know a place on Mercury where we'll be perfectly safe. Right now, our enemies are roaring toward Mars. But they'll never arrive. They will destroy themselves out in space.
I just rechecked the vector computer, sir. We're 2 hours out of Mars.
That'll bring us into Lowell City at 1340. Is Dr. Blake still sleeping?
No, sir. The last time I went back aft, he was pacing his compartment and muttering to himself. When he saw me in the corridor, he slammed the door.
He's under quite a strain, poor fellow.
He's got me worried, Commander. How can he be so positive that Castro's in Lowell City? I think he knows a lot more about this escape than he lets on.
You'll find out how much he knows before very long.
You're not going to find out anything, Commander. I've got a blast gun here. Do what I tell you or I'll use it.
Dr. Blake, this is hardly the time for a joke.
This is no joke, Corey. You're planning to hold me responsible for Castro's escape. But you're not going to hold me up to disgrace. Change vector.
Dr. Blake, I don't know what you're talking about.
Do what I tell you, or I'll blast both of you.
We'll return to Space Patrol in just a moment. Come and get it! Hey, all you rocket jockeys, I've got something new and sensational to tell you about today. I mean Nestle's Quick, the greatest way to make chocolate milk you ever tasted. Quick makes the richest, most chocolatey, most delicious chocolate milk in all the universe. It's the same wonderful flavor as Nestle chocolate bars. Oh, just think if drinking milk would taste like that. Jumpin' Jupiter. And Space Patrollers, Nestle's Quick is just as quick and easy to make as it is delicious. You can fix yourself a tall, frosty glass of Quick in no time, anytime. Now, here's all you do. Pour out your glass of milk and then add 2 spoonfuls of Quick powder. Yes, sir, you heard me. First you pour in the milk and then you put in the Quick. Nestle's designed Quick to mix in a flash. It's never messy to make, and you don't have to beat it or shake it in special containers. And that special Nestle's chocolate flavor won't settle at the bottom or stick to the sides. No, sir. Quick is real chocolatey from the first sip to the last swallow. And Mom will be real pleased to know that Quick is fortified with vitamin D, just what you need for strong, healthy bones. And believe me, when Mom sees how you drink up every drop of your milk, she'll be glad to get Nestle's Quick all the time. Now, gang, here's how to get the official chocolate milk maker for all Space Patrollers. Ask Mom to bring home the big brown and yellow can of Nestle's Quick. That's Q-U-I-K, Quick. And then the happiest sound at your house will be the one that means great chocolate milk. That's the Quick call. Like this. Come and get it! Nestle's Quick! And now, back to our Space Patrol adventure, the super brain of Balmer Castro. Commander Corey and Cadet Happy are aboard the Terra 5, heading for the planet Mars with Dr. Ernest Blake, inventor of the cerebroscope, a device that vastly increases the efficiency of the brain. Through the use of this invention, Balmer Castro was able to outwit the staff of the Martian Criminal Rehabilitation Center and escape, taking Dr. Blake's assistant, Rhoda Nexon, with him. For some unaccountable reason, Dr. Blake is attempting to force Buzz to change the vector of the Terra 5.
I'm warning you, Corey. Don't turn around or I'll blast you.
Okay, Doctor, you name it. Where do we go?
Let's see.
Drop the gun, Doctor. I said drop it. There. It's okay, Commander. I've got him.
Nice work, Happy. I'll admit you had me worried when you jumped him.
Take a look at the gun, Commander.
Oh, he was bluffing. It's a ray gun.
Yes, sir. If it was a blaster, I wouldn't have dared risk it. When I saw it was a ray gun, I figured the worst that could happen to you was that, well, he'd put you to sleep for an hour.
It's a ray gun. What have I done? What have I done?
You haven't done anything, fortunately. But just what were you trying to do, Doctor?
I don't know. I must have lost my mind. Something made me do it, Commander. Some powerful force took control of me. Castro.
Castro?
Yes. I know he's used the cerebroscope now. I know it.
And you think he forced you to attack us?
There's no doubt about it. My behavior a moment ago, it couldn't possibly have benefited me. But it could benefit Castro. I tell you, I thought that ray gun was a blaster.
It's hard to believe that Castro could control your mind from a distance, yet he seems to have deceived and controlled the staff at the rehab center.
Yeah, there must be a lot more to this cerebroscope of yours than you told us, Doctor.
There's a lot about the human mind that we don't know. I tell you, Commander, Balmer Castro's mind is powerful enough to send a spark across space to my mind.
And perhaps you're sending a spark to his.
But not as strong. Remember, I was subjected to the cerebroscope radiations for a few minutes. Who knows how long Castro may have been under the treatment.
Wow.
Commander, Mercury. Change vector to Mercury.
Why?
That's where you'll find Castro.
Catch him, Happy. Yes, sir. He's unconscious, sir.
Take care of him, Hap. I'm changing vector to Mercury.
Some moments later, viewscope scanning beams sweep back and forth over the rocky surface of the planet Mercury as Buzz and Appy search for a trace of Balmer Castro.
If Dr. Blake is right, we should be over Castro's hiding place.
Should I wake the doctor, sir?
I don't think you could, Happy. A while ago, I gave him a short burst with a vapor injector to put him to sleep.
Smoking rockets. Is he getting out of hand again?
No, it was Dr. Blake's own idea. He's afraid that if his brain is fully conscious, Castro might become aware of it and know we were after him.
Oh, I see.
So immediately after the doctor got his mental fix on Castro, he asked to be put to sleep.
Uh-oh. Commander, look.
A grounded spaceship.
Yeah, in the black shadow of that peak. Without the infrared probe beam, we'd never have seen it.
Get our spacesuits out of the locker, Hap. We'll land and search for Castro's hideout.
Under the sun-baked rock of Mercury, Balmer Castro relaxes in one of the cool, comfortably furnished chambers of his hideout. His captive, Rhoda Nexon, paces the floor nervously.
Rhoda, sit down. Take it easy.
I don't like this place. How long are you going to keep me here?
Really, it could be in a far worse place. Even if it is underground, it's well lighted, with its own independent air-producing system. I've set aside a room for your private use.
Look at you, Castro. You fancy yourself a master criminal, and yet you're living underground like a mole, hiding.
That's only temporary. In time, I shall be able to go and come as I please.
Suppose the Space Patrol finds your hideout. You're trapped.
I'm not defenseless, Rhoda. I have a corps of alert and well-armed sentries guarding this place.
I haven't seen a living soul here.
That's right. I didn't say the sentries were living. They're small, highly maneuverable, and in some respects they think for themselves.
Robots.
Exactly. The robots could hold off quite a force until I escape through the cavern of the spaceship, if necessary.
I don't care how brilliant you are, Castro. You're still one man against organized society.
At present, I am just one man. But a true leader has no difficulty recruiting followers. I will draw them into me with irresistible force.
What's that?
I better lock you up for the time being.
What do you mean, lock me up? What's happening?
The robot sentries have sighted a moving object on the surface near the hideout. Before I go to the control chamber, I'm going to put you where you can't interfere.
Meantime, in their spacesuits, Buzz and Appy walk across the rough, oven-hot rock surface of Mercury, searching for Castro's hideout. Suddenly, Buzz grips Happy's arm.
Hold it, Happy. Something moved up there ahead of us. It looked like an animal of some kind. An animal on Mercury? That's right, there's no atmosphere. Well, whatever it is, there's another one. Hap, they're robots. Castro is probably using them to observe us. They look like turtles, except they move a lot faster. We'll go back a few hundred yards and figure out another plan of action. Hap, look behind us. We're surrounded by them. Yes, sir. Oh, my leg. There's some kind of weapon. They're shooting pain rays right through our spacesuits. They're closing in on us. Dozens of them. They've stopped now. It's almost as though they were watching us. They are, and so am I. It's Balmer Castro, I believe. That's right, Commander. I can see every move you make through the viewscope eye of each of those little robots. I can monitor you through any single robot or a combination. Now, since you seem so anxious to find my hideout, my sentries will escort you. Follow them. All right, Castro. First, drop your ray guns. Go on, or I'll jolt you with a pain ray. That's better.
Surrounded by the strange turtle-like robots, Buzz and Appy make their way across the rough rocks. Almost like living things, the robots occasionally break formation to avoid obstacles, but immediately close in again. Finally, Buzz and Appy enter an airlock with four of the robots scurrying in after them. At last, they're in an underground chamber, face to face with Balmer Castro.
That's it, gentlemen. Raise your face pieces.
All right, Castro. What have you done with Rhoda Nexon?
She's here, Commander. You'll join her in a moment. You were directed here by Dr. Blake, I presume. I thought I'd disposed of him out in space, but occasionally I still seem to make slight contact with his mind. Here, Rhoda, I brought you some company.
Space Patrolman.
Yes, Commander Corey and a cadet. Commander, you'll notice that the robots have stopped a few feet away from you. They're watching you. They're going to see that none of you leave this room alive.
Castro, what are you going to do?
I'm going to the control panel.
He's a fiend, Commander. A fiend with a super brain.
Did you help him escape from the rehab center?
I didn't mean to. Honestly, I didn't. I never dreamed anything like this would happen.
Let's not waste time talking. Hap, let's see if we can get out of here.
Maybe we can break down that door.
Oh! Hold it. We've got to knock out those robots. When we get close to them, they blast us with a pain ray.
If there was only something in here we could use for a weapon.
There's nothing. I've looked.
If there was only a rod or something, maybe we could flip them over on their backs and get out of their range. Hey, how about that chair?
We couldn't get close enough. Even if we threw the chair, I doubt that it would smash them. They look very rugged.
Yeah. There's nothing on these walls except a couple of mirrors. Nothing that would do us any good.
Oh.
I'm at the robot control panel now, Corey. I'm gradually increasing the strength of the pain rays. In a few moments, you will all suffer unendurable agony. You can't avoid the robots. Wherever you move, they'll follow you. Even when I'm on my way to my spaceship, the robots will continue their work.
I can't stand it.
Commander, she's fainted.
The girl is fortunate. I'm leaving now, Commander, with Blake's cerebroscope. I can't bear to watch people suffer.
Dirty rat. We can't fight those robots. But maybe we can trick them.
Oh.
Notice they avoid each other. It's a built-in reaction to keep them from getting in each other's way.
Yeah, well, that doesn't do us much good. We're not robots.
No, but maybe we can make these gadgets think we are.
Huh?
The mirrors. We'll each take one from the wall. Hap, hurry.
Yes, sir.
Hold the mirror close to the floor, Hap. Now, watch out. Don't drop it.
Oh, the pain is so bad I can hardly control myself.
Hurry, Hap. Hold the mirror so the robot's electric eye will see its own reflection. Like this.
Commander, it's working. They're turning away from us.
They act like they're going mad.
Yeah, they're running around like crazy.
Move them away from the door.
That's it. Wow, are they confused?
Keep them that way while I try to break down the door. Here, take this other mirror.
Yes, sir.
Keep them at bay. Got it, Hap. Keep the robots off while I carry the girl out.
Okay, Commander. I've got them under control.
All right, Hap. I've got Rhoda. Hang on to those mirrors and back toward the door.
Yes, sir. They're following us, Commander.
I don't think that broken door will hold them, but the mirrors will. Hap, as you back out of the room, put that chair in front of the doorway and prop the mirrors against it.
Okay, Commander. Hey, it's holding them, sir. They won't come any closer than 3 feet from the mirror.
Let's find a spacesuit for Rhoda and get her to the ship.
Well, what about Castro and those other robots outside?
We'll smash the robot control panel. Then we've got to get to Terra 5 before Castro tries to blast it from his ship.
Moments later, Buzz and Happy get Rhoda Nexum aboard the Terra 5, where the now fully conscious Dr. Blake is anxiously waiting for them.
Doctor, take care of Rhoda. Get her out of that spacesuit.
Yes, Commander. Is she all right?
She's coming around.
I saw that ship blast off, Commander, about 5 minutes ago.
It was Castro.
You're lucky, Doctor. If Castro had any space weapons aboard, he'd have blasted this ship for sure. Happy, prepare the ship for blastoff.
Yes, sir.
My cerebroscope. Did you find it?
Castro took it with him.
You were right, Doctor. Rhoda gave him a treatment. He's got a super brain.
With my cerebroscope, he can take other criminals and raise their mental powers.
Smoking rockets. He can form a ring of super criminals.
That's what we've got to prevent.
Yes, but what chance have we got? That tremendous intellect of his.
Don't forget, Doctor. No man is really smart if he sets all decent people against him. Happy, fire rockets. Up ship and away.
In just a moment, an action preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol adventure. Brought to you by Rice Chex and Wheat Chex, the bite-sized cereals in the red and white checkerboard packages. Say, did you ever take a taste test, Space Patrollers? Well, man, oh man, it sure is fun when it's Chex you're taste testing. How do I know? Well, I just took one. First, I tested them with sugar and cream. Super keen taste. Then I added fruit. Super neat taste. Next, I tried them right out of the red and white checkerboard package. That was a snack test. And Chex, rice, or wheat for snacks can't be beat. Yes, sir, gang, I rate Chex tops for taste. You'll rate them tops, too. Next, I tried them for size. Bite size is the just right size. Just right for your spoon, just right for delicious, easy eating. Chex, rice, or wheat, tops for size. You bet. And as for Get Up and Go, gang, have yourself a good, nourishing breakfast with Rice Chex or Wheat Chex, and you'll be rated tops for Get Up and Go. So, Space Patrollers, you take the Rice Chex, Wheat Chex taste test today. And I'm positive you'll agree, Chex rate tops 3 ways. For taste, for size, for get up and go. Rice Chex, Wheat Chex, the cereals with the super swell free Space Patrol trading card inside the red and white checkerboard package. And now, a preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol adventure. A saboteur has just escaped from the locked compartment aboard the Terra 5. Now, with ray guns drawn, Buzz and Happy are searching the ship.
He still must have that special spacesuit on, sir. At least it wasn't in the compartment.
How did he get out?
Smashed the door.
Rough customer. Oh, there he is. After him, Hap.
Halt where you are, I'll fire. He's heading for the weapons compartment.
This'll stop him.
Wow, that ray gun never even phased him.
It's that suit. He's completely shielded. Come on, we'll have to tackle him.
He's in the compartment with all those weapons.
All right, Halcorn, come out of there.
Helmet get me. And you better have something better than a ray gun, but they can drop you if you take another step.
Be sure to join us next week for the thrilling story, The Test of the XK3. Space Patrol, created by Mike Moser, starring Ed Kemmer as Commander Corey and Len Osborne as Cadet Happy, was written by Lou Houston. Produced and directed by Larry Robertson, executive producer Mike Devery. Other players were Norman Jolly, Virginia Hewitt, Ken Mayer, and Anthony Sides. Dick Tufel speaking. Now, don't forget to tune in next Saturday and every Saturday for the new, exciting Space Patrol. Space Patrol was brought to you today by Nestle's Quick for the greatest tasting chocolate milk and those famous Nestle's chocolate bars. Be sure to see another exciting Space Patrol program on your local ABC television station. Consult your local paper for time and channel. This program is broadcast to our armed forces overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Space Patrol came to you transcribed from Hollywood. This is ABC Radio Network.